We live, baby. I mean, we're live. Just to post the thingamajig. I could probably get the stream URL prior, so I don't have to do this in the first few. Because the way I'm doing it right now, I have to be live, and I just get the URL from my own channel.
Yeah.
But there's probably a way to do it beforehand. Alrighty then. Yeah, so this is just one. I just wanted to do a stream because I feel like I don't do it enough. And also, yeah, it's just fun to do. How have you been, dude?
I've been alright. It's been nothing too particularly eventful. I forget, when was the last time we did this?
The last time we streamed was, I think, at least a few months ago, or at least a month ago, yeah. But I've been having on a few different people, just because I want to broaden my my demographics, I guess.
I feel that.
And yeah, that's about it. Nothing else too interesting going on. I had my friend Curtis Reed come on a few weeks ago to talk about addiction because he's been battling some of his demons, and he's also been uploading very consistently on YouTube. I think he has at least one video a day, and they're about motivational stuff. Oh shit. Oh yeah, sorry. It's
Talking?
Okay, just making sure. Yeah. Okay.
Everybody fights their demons in a different way.
How do you fight your demons? Also, I'm going to draw a demon.
Alright. Well, no, there's that line from Avatar. What was it? Uncle Iroh says, sometimes the best way to help yourself is to help others. And I know there's a hypocrisy with that a little bit. There's often an adage that says you shouldn't try to help others before you know how to help yourself. So kind of it's two sides of the same coin.
That sounds awful Jordan Peterson-y.
I mean, no, so I do get the idea behind don't help others before you can help yourself. It's this idea that perhaps you may not be in the most stable mental states or emotional states in order to help others, and perhaps you might be doing a little bit more damage than good in that situation. But it's very situational, I think,
But I mean, isn't that a little bit either I don't know if the term would be feudalistic or fallacious, where it's you can only don't look at someone else's garden if yours is still, you clean your room. Basically, you're never going to be in a place where you can. I mean, unless you're a therapist or whatever. But even so, where you can know what's best for someone, you can just always act in a way that you with their best interest in mind as much as you can.
Sure.
So I think you should be aware of to what extent you can help other people, in terms of efficacy. There's some people who I just can't help, people who have been in my life where it's dude, you've got so much stuff going on internally, I don't have the qualifications, or I just don't have the frame of reference to really know what's going on with you. And maybe you're also just kind of a shitty person, because
There's
shitty people do exist.
there is a lot to kind of unpack with these kind of issues, like whether you're available to help them, whether you're capable of helping them, whether they're worth being helped. You're right. There's a lot to kind of take in before you can kind of decide whether or not it's going to work out. But I think it's worth trying in the first place. I think that so long as you really aren't going in with no grand sense of who you are as a person and how you can help them, unless you're just like winging it, I don't think you can go wrong with this stuff. You could have something to contribute to this person's life.
Mm-hmm. And it's also, oh, sorry, what were you gonna say?
No. I was just gonna go with the thing is like, at the end of the day, I am helping people, even though I'm not 100%, and I guess that goes to show what side of the argument I'm on.
Do you want to give some deets?
On what part? Because there's a few parts of that.
Who do you don't have to dox them or whatever, but who in your life are you trying to help?
I mean, a few people. A lot of it's my family. My folks are kind of in a perpetual state of mending their lives, and for the half of the year that they're in Jersey, I make an earnest effort to try to help them out. I can do. It's not my business what they necessarily do with like marriage or something like that, but like as people, I make an earnest effort to try to help them reflect on themselves. I find that no matter how old you get, there's just some things that with that proper introspection, you're just not going to see in yourself. And oftentimes it comes down to like, this is a problem that I see you doing, and this is my observation. I'm not telling you to fix it. I'm just telling you this is what I see. And this is what you may not notice.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big part of it. It's just kind of a being observant, being a listener. And obviously helping people is my job. I'm in physical therapy. So just, I do it every day. But beyond that, these conversations that I have with patients is just like an additional, I guess you can call it like a bandage or amending on top of what I am just licensed to do. I'm just talking to them. I'm not giving them some kind of like advice as like a therapist. That's not trade, but I think just talking and listening to them is just an additional thing.
Yeah, like so little, because I'm trying to think of people who I like actively give advice to, and it's pretty rare that I actually tell someone like, oh, you should be doing this, because I think should is one of those really I don't know if insidious seems a little hyperbolic, but yeah, sure, let's go with that. Should can be like this insidious sort of implication that because it means so many things. Like I should be working out every day. Or most days. I should have a balanced diet, and just there's a mountain of shoulds that
Mm-hmm.
that it's like absurd. The point where it's absurd to the point where people just are suffocated by their choices on what they should be prioritizing. That they, just like how many times have you looked at your to-do list or even just like in your own brain and thought like, oh man, there's so much stuff that I should be doing. It's all so overwhelming. Let me just do none of it. Or let me just do the bare minimum. And that's kind of, where I'm at sometimes, where just like, I have no idea where to start. And even though I know it would be smart to just start somewhere, I just can't for whatever
paralyzing.
reason.
It's absolutely paralyzing. Trust me. It's like, I don't know. With all that I'm saying, I will tell you that I'm not doing nearly for myself or for what I can be doing. I am still, I would do what I would call my bare minimum to do my job, to help the people that are right in front of me, but not nearly enough to help myself per se. It's like, I feel like right now I am kind of free floating towards a goal. And that's kind of in the fact that my life is progressing. Well, I'm kind of beyond the point where I have to row the boats to get to the next chapter in my life. I'm like, I feel like this is like the senioritis of this chapter of my life. I feel like I've lost the will to can or to do,
Wait,
and at this point,
senioritis of? Oh, you mean this chapter? Because like senioritis of your life is like when you're actually a senior citizen.
no, I'm thinking like senioritis, like when you're like a senior in school and like you just can bring yourself fuck
You can't bring yourself to what?
to like give a fuck to like care.
Yeah.
Like you're just like I'm just gonna just. It's almost over. I've passed everything basically. I can just kind of just whatever, and I'll be fine. That's like what it feels like with part of my life because when I'm in the next part of my life, I am getting to the point where I'm about to start looking for like full-time work with benefits and developing the kind of.
Congrats.
Thank you, thank you. It's taken a long time to get here, but I'm at
Been a
this point where
long way to the top. Man, you
It really
gotta
does.
rock and roll. You know, School of Rock.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Oh man, that's legitimately one of my favorite movies. Anyway, sorry.
No, it's okay. Listen, I half of my time playing Magic the Gathering with friends is them playing a card that sounds like a song, and I just immediately scream out like lyrics. Like, just a quick moment. There's a card called "The Rhythm of the Wild," and every fucking time I hear it, I'm like, "It's the rhythm of the wild." It comes out. It like slips out like a ghost.
Dude, that's the. I don't know. So my friend Saren. Well, I guess it's fine to say now they're my girlfriend, and I use the term girl. We have many conversations about this, or at least I, manifest many conversations about this. The fact that they're non-binary trans, but they're not even completely. It's gender is a fuck. But I'm just saying. Long story short, I have permission to use girlfriend because it feels awkward to say partner or significant other. But anyway, they're a big tismo, and and sorry if I'm using that word. And they're also in Discord. So hey, what's up? If you're listening or watching. I'm freaking talking about it. So, but this phenomenon here, let me type it in because I don't want to do it injustice. But echolalia, which is kind of like the phenomenon of. Let me read it actually, so I don't get it wrong. Okay, meaningless repetition of another person's spoken words as a symptom of a psychiatric disorder. Holy shit, that sounds. A little bit more divisive, but a repetition of speech by a child learning to talk. Okay, yeah. Okay. See, a serious development. Oh Jesus. Oh wait, no. That's just autism. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, it's such a broad spectrum, but it's basically like kind of repetition. In reference to like social interaction, I think is a fair definition. Kind of repeating things back to people, but it could also just be like kind of mimicking the vocal mannerisms of someone else, or sort of taking on their type of expression. So I think that might be in some way related to how a lot of people on the spectrum kind of just like jump in with kind of either memes or something that reminds them of something, and then just instantly have to like get it out there. And,
sure.
And I feel that a lot, pretty frequently. So yeah, that's the only point I wanted to get to. Sorry, yeah.
Oh no, it's fine. No, it just happens so often. Like people are like sick of it. I think with my play group because I just every time they think that I'm done with it, a new one comes out, and some of them don't even like. They're not a reference to anything, but like example is just this card called Stinkweed Imp, and every time I hear it, I just go like in this like nasally voice, Stinkweed. Some of them don't even have a reference. Some of them are just so stupid.
Yeah.
And it only like with like recent like months have I realized how often I do this stupid thing where like I just break out into a jingle, and I love it. I genuinely love that I do it.
It's a fun thing.
Yeah. It certainly is.
Okay.
But going back to the point I was making was that about ending kind of this point in my life, I know that with due time, when I finish this last semester at Rutgers, I will be just kind of like able to commit to a full time job, and that part of my life will just kind of be over as a student,
Uh-huh.
and I'll just be full time work. And just I cannot bring myself to like take myself seriously or just in general try to focus in on anything. I can't like the best I'm doing is like just kind of getting out there and catching up with people, which is like something that I have not done in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of like what I've been doing with like you and with like a bunch of friends. This has been like since my breakup. But God, it's been a while. It's like this is like about the time where I should stop talking about it, which I don't talk about it that often. But like,
I mean, you haven't talked about it with me. I actually kind of forgot that you had been broken up with.
oh God,
Did you do the breaking? Are you broken?
yeah, no, I wouldn't be the one to do it.
I mean, I
It was
fucking
kind of
know.
like no, it's like how do I explain it? I mean, it has been a while then since we it's like no, one was we broke up like end of June.
Oh, maybe you told. Yeah, you probably told me about it, but I just forgot. Yeah.
It's no big deal. It's like just literally kind of just it wasn't working out, yada yada yada. Like I said, the thing that got me more peeved about the whole thing was that like I kid you not, like 2 months later, like back on the horse, I'm like, you know what? She has every right to start dating again. I get it, but like it feels like you know what? You got over this a little fast.
Yeah.
Like how am I? Like I said, I just it's like that's me. That's on me. That's my problem. How I feel about that. But like
Yeah. How fast is too fast? I don't know.
that's relative to the person. You know, that's the thing. It's like I think some people. I think she's also the kind of person who like not to criticize her. I think what's different about this, but some people like just can't be alone. I guess,
Mm-hmm.
and like I mean, to be fair, like I kind of jumped on that horse. Like not the relationship.
You dated a
During
horse. That's what you're saying.
oh sure, let's go with that. She's just the horse now.
It's
She's
not like
the
insulting.
horse.
I'm just she's like a she's like
The metaphorical
let me
horse.
abandon this actually immediately. This is a real person that's close to you, and I just immediately went like, oh yeah, she's a horse, right?
You got to make light of these things, you know. Like it was the old Jewish saying: "You're either laughing or you're crying."
Yeah. Or
Like
dying, or you're just dead.
what is it? They say it was dying is easy, comedy's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that at this point, I think I'm over it because like I'm laughing a lot about it, and I think it's more any like grievances I feel about the subject are more from like me wishing that I could have done better in the relationship itself, not yearning for the person anymore.
Mhm.
And that's kind of like a hard distinction to make because like it's
Yeah.
like kind of living with the fact that you made mistakes and you can't own up to them anymore.
I mean, yeah, you could just kind of take personal responsibility.
That's
Um,
what you try to do, you
but
know?
that's like about it. You know, like
Yeah.
what else are you really gonna do about it? Because like my last like I'd say my last like my last longer term relationship, like I think about a year, maybe a little bit more. Not entirely sure.
Hmm.
It was back when I was like 22, 23, and it kind of probably with my first long term relationship too. It took me a while to really come to terms with it because I've never been able to like really keep connections going, like even just be friends with my exes, not because I don't like them or I don't want to be friends with them, more so I just can't bring myself to not see them in that way, even though I
Oh
might
yeah.
not be like in love with them anymore. I still can't break away from whatever relationship we had. That's just how it be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny because like I kind of haven't even thought about the fact of like, am I ever going to be friends with this person again? Because like, I mean, to be fair, I haven't like talked. Like, what happened was after the breakup, we didn't really talk at all, and then like I just like wished her happy birthday on her birthday like 2 months later. That was that, and she said thanks, and then like I was like happy birthday, hope all is well, thanks Lawrence, and then haven't heard from her again, and I'm like, you know, I guess I do feel bad if that's the end of it, like just no more communication, no more friendship at all.
Yeah.
But I also get it, you know.
I mean, that's how every single one of my relationships has worked. So
Like,
I guess it's fine.
I think that's it for most of mine. Like the only one that wasn't was like a very young relationship where like this is a girl that like I knew before we dated, and then we like briefly dated for like a few months, and then just kind of we broke up, and kind of like it happened early enough in life where like I kind of like matured, and then like now we're like good friends again,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, weird because like it's the case, and I remember once heard this phrase that I just didn't know if I wanted to agree with it or not, which is that if you can be friends with someone you dated, then you never truly loved them before then.
Damn.
And I'm like, that's a really dismissive way of putting it, but like I feel like, well, first of all, the weird thing is that like I think that with this relationship that I just got out of, this was like the first time like I actually like can say I love the person, which is like kind of that's a big thing for me, I guess, you know. Like I've
Yeah.
had plenty of other relationships, like short-term ones, mid-term ones, but like never did I say truly that I loved that person. Like I never got to know them well enough to say that. And like even so, just they evaporated or they just kind of dissipated and no more. I haven't heard from any of them
They got Thanos snapped.
out of existence. Yeah, but
Yeah.
like I don't know. It's just I don't see an issue with that per se, but I guess I wonder if the validity of that phrase.
Of what? Oh yeah, you
Oh,
can't be
yeah.
or no. If you're friends with the what is it?
If you could be friends with someone after you date, then you never truly love them.
Yeah. No, I would say that's pretty. That's a limited kind of viewpoint.
Yeah, it's like I can see it, but like I don't know if it's necessarily everything. You know, what actually screws me up. Aiden?
Um,
Small things that like I remember about like conversations we've had or conversations I've had with people. I very distinctly like remember one detail from a conversation we had about one of your breakups, and I don't know if like is it okay if I bring this up because like you don't know what I'm gonna say, but like it's a very specific detail about one of the things, and it's about a song that I associate with you telling me the story because it was a song that you mentioned.
yeah, sure.
It was that song "Found a Friend."
Oh yeah, that song sucks. I mean,
I perpetually like.
it's a great song. It sucks for me for emotional reasons, and also the
It is
song "Endlessly." I think they're actually like right next to each other. It's Den May. It's the DENTMAY. In case anyone's curious, I guess. Yeah.
Mhm.
What were you gonna say though?
I was gonna say that what fascinates me. So obviously, every time I hear that song, because it's like still in my mix sometimes, is I think of that story. And I'm like, that is such a sad thing, and like there's such an emotion, but also like I totally get that now because like there's certain songs I cannot hear without like associating it with this breakup of mine, and I think it's fair to share mine.
Wait,
My
sorry.
the
What?
song.
Oh, I don't mean to interrupt you because I just what you said it was associated with a story. That was just
No, no.
my breakup, or
I'm saying that like I associate whenever I hear that song "Found a Friend" with your story, and now like
which
I have
story
a
is that?
song that no, the story of your breakup. Like I just because I remember that story you told me, and when I hear that song,
Because I don't remember specifically what story. But anyway, tell me about your story.
I was gonna say that it's not like a story. Just I associate my breakup with my last girlfriend with the song "Was It Losing You" by Boy Pablo,
Okay, I'm not familiar.
which is a little bit on the nose considering the premise of the song.
Oh, dude, but like those songs hit the hardest. The ones that are like totally unironic and they're like not necessarily literal, but they sort of like use metaphor sparingly. Those songs
Yeah.
fucking suck because it's just like, yeah, I'm just gonna say the thing. There's one
I
song.
think.
There's one song about death that's like fucking heart wrenching. Oh my god.
Uh huh.
I forget who did it, and here actually I can look it up right now. But anyway,
Yeah.
keep going.
For like the first 2 months that I broke up with Rachel, I could not listen to boy pop. I didn't listen to music in general. Like I felt like every song reminded me of her, but especially like Boy Pablo, like all of his songs, I couldn't listen to them without getting really depressed. The only thing I could listen to was like podcasts,
Mm.
like just and that's such a like, oh Lawrence, you're being so cringe kind of thing. Where like I'm like, it was actually painful to listen to music. I couldn't listen to music, and I would just drive to work, and if I was listening to music, I'd start weeping, I'd start crying, and I just couldn't do that. So I just listened to podcasts for like 2 months, and eventually it kind of like mended itself, and slowly but surely I could like everything kind of stopped reminding me of her. Because like I shared a lot of stuff with her. Like that was the thing. Like we watched like Oh Hello, and like I couldn't think of Oh Hello jokes without like thinking about it, because like just we'd always quote them to each other, and it was like, fuck, man, why did I have to share all this cool shit with her? Now like I'm sad when I enjoy this stuff.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, it came back eventually, but do you remember the song or?
The one that I was looking for. Yeah, it's called "Real Death" by Mount Erie, and
What a name.
yeah, and the song or the artist, I don't know.
Both.
Yeah, it's literally just about. I'm pretty sure this guy's wife died, and he just wrote a song about it. That's it. That's all the background you need. So if you want to just
Yeah.
like either have a good cry or just feel like shit, listen to that song because it's also not very melodic or like all the lyrics are like more or less like they do have melody, but there's like sort of a spoken word kind of flatness to them where they don't have really any sort of fanciful like metaphor or again there might be some in there, but it's been a while since I listened to the song. I would play it right now, but I don't know, whatever. It probably would just be like uh, picked up on stream. I don't fucking know. Anyway, I could play it now, but I'd rather just you listen to it. Anyone watching or in the future or whatever, just listen to it for yourself, not to break up the pace of what we're talking about. But yeah, it's just really, yeah, it just really, it doesn't dance around anything. It's just like, yeah, we're all gonna die. Death sucks, and also like the minutia of death, like like getting a dead person's mail,
Oh God.
just like bank statements and stuff like that. They just haven't been processed. Like the person hasn't like the bank hasn't been notified of the person's death or something like that, or like Facebook notifications, any shit like that, where it's just like
What's
Jesus.
really that reminds me actually that you mentioned it about the death and stuff. I remember because a few years back, one of my friends actually passed away, and
Jesus, did you tell me about this?
we might have talked about this. This is like a very close friend of mine, actually, someone who I actually did briefly date, but also someone who I actually was good friends with before and after it. She had passed away. Like it will be 3 years in November. The
Jesus,
point was
I'm
that
so
I remember I
sorry.
was kind of. It's how to explain it. It was the perfect storm of suck because a lot of just kind of complications happened with her at the same time, and no one saw it coming, which is just the worst part about it.
What
And
was
kind
the mechanism? How did
of,
they?
she always had like bad this I think it was kidneys.
Yep.
She had complications with that already, and she was also like, this is what I did. I was told, and like it's almost coincidence. Like in hindsight, you realize you're
Wait,
like, I'm so fucked.
sorry, just got cut off. Can you say the last thing you said?
She was anorexic as well.
Oh, okay.
And like one of the things that happens with anorexia is actually kidney failure.
Yep.
So like her already like bad kidneys, and I remember the whole story. It's the idea she was destroying herself, and very few people kind of noticed. And it was only after it was too late that we realized what was going on. Truly, and
Jesus.
the part that kills me is like looking back. I remember in those last few months of seeing her, she was always wearing baggy clothing. She was always like covered up, and it didn't click. And kind of we all have to kind of come in terms of forgiving ourselves about it because we didn't notice. The point I was gonna make was that I wasn't trying to bring up a whole bummer here. I'm sorry.
No, we're in it, dude. We're just talking about death and like loneliness and breakups. Like this is where we're at. So keep going.
Sad cast.
Yep.
What happened was I saw her. I was with her family for a lot of time because she was a hometown. I was visiting a lot and seeing a lot of them kind of going through like kind of canceling a lot of her accounts and stuff, which is just the most heartbreaking thing I imagine. You know, like they had to cancel like her Hulu and yada yada yada, and it's just like her bank accounts.
Yeah.
And like you could, it's like insult to injury. I can imagine. You know, on top of everything else, like she had just, I believe, finished her master's in mathematics. She was like brilliant, and just to see like kind of having to, it's the most insensitive part about it, but just to see such a waste of potential in a person because she was like absolutely brilliant.
What was her like? Specialization? You said mathematics.
Like mathematics, just absolutely brilliant.
Okay. Yeah. I mean,
Like
I don't even know what part of mathematics, like, I would even ask.
I couldn't ask. I would not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
she could explain to me, and I would not know.
It might as well be like theoretical physics or whatever, or it could just be algebra 2. Like I have no fucking clue.
She had doors. She had doors open to her with that kind of like intelligence, that kind of expertise. But I remember like the hardest thing because I remember just like the thing is she had a twin sister, which is like if it's bad for like a sibling, you can only imagine how bad it is for this a twin to lose their twin. And I remember like to this day it haunts me. I remember getting the phone call that she died from her sister. It was like so. This is kind of how it was like this. Like I got a text saying, "Lawrence, I need to talk to you like ASAP." And I'm like, "Okay, sure. You can call me in like 10 minutes." And I had like known her grandpa wasn't doing too well, so I was gonna waiting. I was expecting to hear my grandpa died. Like, you know, kind of like okay, I can get ready for this. I can support her. You know.
Yep.
I was not ready for this call though.
How long ago? You said like 3 years.
3 years ago, yeah.
That's not that long, man. Damn.
It's not. You know, she's still going to be going through this for a long, for the rest of her life probably, but she has good times and she has bad times, and I think she's doing pretty well.
I know I've had my share.
Yeah. I remember the first thought that went through my mind when she said it was I kind of, in my mind, I immediately forced like myself into a state of empathy, whether I liked it or not, and I thought to myself, like, how would I feel right now if Danny was dead? And it like... I know, like I was just walking outside and I'm tearing up and I'm just like trying to understand what's going on and what happened. And obviously she couldn't tell me all the details. It just happened the night before. And I remember kind of just everything in life kind of just shifted in perspective a little bit. Kind of like realized that everything isn't that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things.
I mean, death itself isn't really that big of a deal in the
not for the dead. It's not.
In the grandest scheme of things. Yeah, it seems kind of macabre, macorn on macabre. Did you say macabre? Or, I mean, you don't say the R. I don't know.
You're not to say the R, but whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, we're all gonna die, and that's just.
Well, yeah.
And it's, I mean, you know, it doesn't even have to be in the worst circumstances. Like, you know, you could be old and surrounded by loved ones, you know, the best possible scenario, but it's still death. Like,
that or you can go out like a punk. It's all the same.
How do you want to go?
I don't know. That's a good question. Because, like, I think on one hand, I am the kind of person where I'll be like, dude, sometimes I'm at work and I have nothing else to do but think. And I think about death because obviously I'm always surrounded by old people who are, like, decrepit and stuff.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I think my mind goes into the infinite thought cycle of what is death like, and my brain tries to like imagine what the void is like, and it's a terrifying experience. Dude, I gotta like pull myself out because it keeps going back to what is death like? What does it feel like? Nothing. What does that mean? Nothing. and it's just absolutely like I feel like I feel my heart rate like speed up, and I can feel like a sinking in my stomach when that thought process goes, and it's the most terrifying feeling. So, because then I kind of imagine my mind goes into a deep emulation of like, what if I'm laying there on my deathbed, waiting for it to come, and I don't think that there's anything on the other side.
Yeah. So I have something that's relevant. Do you want to know, like, in my lifetime, like one of the most like intimate like descriptions of the process of death like I've ever heard?
Let's hear it.
It was Scrubs season 8.
Yes, I knew it.
Episode 2, I think. It was like 2 or 3. It was like one of the first episodes.
The lady who wants to die.
Huh?
The lady who's ready to die.
No, it wasn't the lady. It was like it was an older black gentleman.
That's a later episode.
Yeah, season 8. Yeah.
Yeah, I know exactly which one you're talking about. That episode haunts me to this day because, like, I mean, that's exactly what I think about.
There's a lot of death. You're right. There's an older lady who wanted to die. That was another.
In the first season.
It was the very first season.
She wanted to go on. The family wanted her to go on dialysis, and she said, "I'm just ready to die."
Yeah, that was pretty sad. And,
I'm sorry for like.
No, sorry. Yeah, keep going.
No, I apologize because like I had a feeling you were going to say exactly that episode of Scrubs and like mention Scrubs because like that like episode, like the part that gets me is at the end where they just think that they've gotten through to him.
Wait, which okay? So can I go through it?
Yes. Yeah. Go by all means.
So sort of a brief synopsis of the episode is Turk and JD. You know, what's the actor's name?
Donald Faison and
Donald Faison and Jack Braff. So
Zach Braff.
Yeah, he did I say Jack instead? I know who good. Zach Braff is. I dressed up once for him for Halloween. So they're like going to have like steak night, which is like apparently has been like they kind of just made up some lore that's something they do like every month or something like that because when they need a break. And it's just something they do together that's fun. And they just, and then they meet, they're like finishing up their shift or whatever, and there's this one patient, like this older black gentleman, who's like, not doing so great, but like he's not, like it doesn't seem like immediate or whatever. I mean, spoiler alert, he dies. But
the idea was he was. Just to clarify, he was diagnosed with end-stage renal disease, which is like a death sentence, basically. Like, there's no out of it. It's just when you're going to die.
Okay, so he knew it was like terminal or whatever. So the episode, I think. So the episode is coming from a starting point where it's like, okay, so this person's gonna like there's it's not really there's no stakes in like whether or not this person they can save this person, which like a lot of times like there are in like hospital shows. Mm-hmm. But then, this is one of the ones where it's like, nope, you're gonna die soon. Like, just accept it or whatever. And the guy seemed pretty okay with it. And he also like mentioned like, oh yeah, my family like will be here. But then they're about to leave, and like his family hasn't shown up, and like they realize that like he has no family. And he was just saying it to like make them like feel better. So then the entire episode is. I think there might be like a B plot, but the entire episode it revolves around him, like JD and Turk, like hanging out with this dude, just talking to him and keeping him company, like which ends up being his last day. But towards the end of the episode, in sort of like a moment of weakness or a moment of like I don't know, clarity or whatever. Just very stark questions. He just asks JD what it's going to be like to shuffle off this mortal coil, and JD just describes so matter of factly the process of one by one your organs failing, and like. You could even be like, it's assuming that I guess you're whether you're conscious or not. I guess if you slip away while you're asleep, which I guess I kind of implicitly always assumed would happen to me because I had never before this was like eighth grade or like maybe high school, like actually thought about witnessing the process of myself dying.
Mm-hmm.
And him just laying it out there, like, yeah, slowly, like one by one, your organs start to fail, and you just kind of lose that grip on reality. Like everything kind of just fades to black, or to whatever color you see when you die. I don't know.
Uh huh.
And that realization of like setting in that, like, oh yeah, it's not like we've all had that. We all have that death sentence. We None of us are going to live, like, unless they like fucking solve the problem of mortality and like put us in I guess brains in a jar. But then even then, it's probably just still a matter of time. Like no matter how long you can extend it, like it's not infinite. So at some point you will have to die, and just yeah, just the age old sort of problem of just coming to terms with that. It was really impactful, and I really wanted him to live. And of course, by the end of the episode, he's gone.
It's like, how to explain it? That it is kind of, it's very much, you're right. Not like a standard episode because there is no stakes, there is no solution. It's simply acceptance, which is truly a haunting thing. It's a very sad thing. What haunts me the most about that description, because I do agree with you on that, is that since that day when I saw that episode, sometimes it scares me to fall asleep because, like, when you fall asleep, when you're starting to doze off, you can feel your, like, breathing slow down and your heart rate slow down. And my mind has an instinct where I'm like, am I dying? And I, like, shock myself awake.
Yep.
And that has not gone away. Like, to this day, I kind of have this weird, like, almost fear of sleeping. Or, like, weird fear of catching myself falling asleep.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah. Sorry.
Because it could be the last time I ever wake up, which just scares me, like. And there's no reason to think about it. Like, and I think in the same sense, I'm like, I am young, I am relatively healthy. There is no reason to think that I'm going to die in my sleep. And yet, like, I think, like, my brain is like an animal mode where I'm like, I am terrified of what might happen to me. And it's like, yeah, I know, just going deeper and deeper. It's only funnier that, like, we talk about this theme considering I've been, like, really getting back into, like, the Black Parade album of all things.
What?
Recently. Yeah.
Okay.
I love that album.
That's cool.
I'm a sucker for concept albums. And that album,
yeah.
like,
I got one for you if you're interested. But yeah,
of
keep
course,
going.
always. Just like I said, the last thing I'll probably talk about is that I love the idea. The general. Everyone knows the Black Parade album, but, like, the general gist of the concept behind it.
Not specifically, no.
It's like the basic premise is that there's this character, the patient, who is this guy dying of cancer, and the album essentially begins with him dying. He is, like, on death's door, and you see kind of, like, a few things. I can't, like, really piece together. I think I've read about it before, but, like, he has his descent into hell and, like, kind of his perspective on life and all the feelings he has of sadness, frustration, loneliness, anger as he's dying and as he is in death's door. And one of the aspects is the idea that, like, death comes to him in the form of a fond memory, like the titular "Welcome to the Black Parade" track. He remembers this memory, obviously, of going to the city to see a parade with his father. And so, like, you see, like, in the music video, that death comes for him in the form of a giant procession, a parade of people, of the dead. And kind of, I guess there's something almost comforting about the idea that death tries to come to you in the form of something that comforts you as opposed to something that terrifies you.
Huh. That's.
And I guess like, the question I ask often is, what would death come to you in the form of? What is the most comforting form it could take to take you away?
You're specifically posing that to me?
I guess, yeah, to you in this case, yes.
Okay. Oh, I actually have to think about it.
Because I don't know either, and I've been thinking about this for weeks.
Probably. It sounds a little trite, but probably like a video game.
I mean, I was thinking of something like that, like yeah, like something close, but like I just don't even know how that would work. Like,
Like maybe like VR, right? You
sure,
could even make it like a kind of like futuristic therapy, where like towards the end of a person's life, like as you're gonna like like you're in a terminal situation or whatever, like basically you have every reason to kind of like pull the plug or whatever, no matter like what state you're in. I'm not talking
huh?
about like fucking like suicidal teens or anything like that. Just like people,
Sure, sure,
at
sure.
the fucking end of their life, like they're gonna die. So might as well make it a blissful experience. And like you put on a VR headset and you just play like either your favorite game or like um, just a game that's specifically like engineered, where it's like kind of choose your own adventure. So it gives you a specific sort of narrative, and
Hmm.
it can even be kind of like in memoriam esque. Like there's little like, from like your like those like you've been on Facebook for 10 years. Here's a clip show of like, or like a little slideshow of all of your memories and stuff like that. Just something along those lines. Like I feel like hopefully by the time I die, technology will be able to facilitate some type of experience that's adjacent to that. Um,
You
yeah.
are actually referring to a very popular trope referred to as the dying dream, or something similar to that. Is this idea often in things where like someone at death's door experiences, so to speak, a vivid dream, and it takes the
Yeah.
form of like a fantasy or like the rest of their life or something else. There was a really great how explain this? There was like a really funny SMBC comic about it.
Uh, who is that again?
As a Saturday morning breakfast deal, it's like nerdy, sciencey comedy web comic.
Okay.
And the joke was one of them is like guys holding a mother and child at gunpoint and says like is like tell me where the safe, what was it, tell me the code to the safe and I won't kill your son. She's like, it's like you can try. He has a chip implanted in his brain where if he is about to die, he'll live a long and a fulfilling life through a dying dream. And he points the gun at her. I have one too. He kind of just kind of to him, he's like, can I have one? Gunshot. He is shot, and then one was the mother is like, wow, that was easier than I thought. Looks at the child. Wait, why aren't you covered in blood? Why aren't you screaming? You're terrified. And she's like, why? And the child's like, why would I be terrified? I'm so happy. Everything is so happy. And the woman just looks horrified. She realized that she's been shot.
I part of that got away from me. I probably have to see the comic itself.
Yeah,
More of a visual input thing, but if you want to link it to me in Discord, I can take
well,
a
let me
look
see
at
if
it
I can
later.
find it, actually. There's like a million,
Maybe.
like, SMBC comics, but let me see if I can find that one. I probably just should have started with that from the beginning, but also the
Think,
joke is SMBC, like, the guy's name is Zach Wienersmith,
okay,
but, like,
sure.
he, like, oftentimes makes the same stupid joke, like, over and over again. Let's see. Uh, uh, there's like a, let's see here. Dying ship. Nope. God. Yeah, no, if I eventually find it, I'll give it to you, but
Yeah, you don't have to do it right now. Yeah.
there's like a million of these things, and like it is just funny to just read this. It's like, have you ever read XKCD?
Nope.
You should. I'll just say that it's like there's a lot of just great web comics out there, humorous ones.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I've never been really a webcomic bro.
Eh, I've just found them to be like a way to kill the time, especially when I was in college, just kind of like in lecture, just reading these. Either way, at the grand scheme of things, is death is scary, and all we do is try to make ourselves more okay with it.
Don't you
That's what I
feel
found.
bad for the people who like? I mean, I don't really feel that bad for them because they're dead now and they don't care. But the people who died like I horribly and like in pain or with like some kind of like amount of regret or you know what I mean? Like just
Oh
someone
yeah,
who was deprived of that like catharsis. You know?
I mean, there's plenty of people who have. There's plenty of people who probably died and never saw it coming, and died so quickly they never even had the opportunity to reflect on their death. And if death truly is the end of it all, that's that. That's the part that makes me a little sad to think about. But it's like also to keep in mind that like if that is really the end, you can't feel too bad because they literally do not have the ability to reflect on how sudden and tragic their death is. It's just over, game over.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
know that makes it worse for some people to think about. I think.
definitely. Because you know that kind of stuff, like worrying about death and the sort of futility of it all. Like that's really only for the living. Ironically, once you're dead, that's I mean, as far as I know, that's all. That's you don't have to worry about it anymore.
All
So
you,
yeah,
my dad once said something to me when I was a kid, which is also a really fucked up thing to tell a kid, but whatever. He said, "Death is a burden only for the living."
yep, that's pretty much exactly what I'm
Yeah, it's like
saying. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. It's like once you're dead, you're dead. If there's an afterlife, there's an afterlife. If there's not, well, that's that. It's
yeah.
like I think there's like it's not comforting because I think that no one wants to see the end of the ride, especially when they're like at the better part of it. Like we are ideally at the better part of the ride. I see what old people are like, and it is not fun.
Oh
All I can tell
God,
you is that like when you're at like the better part, you don't want to see the end, but you don't know how you're gonna feel like when you're near the end of the ride. Perhaps you're like the lady who was supposed to go on dialysis and say, you know what, I've had a good run. Or you could be at the end and think to yourself, I wanted to do so much more, and this is the end. But I think you have to find there's a reason there's 5 stages of acceptance, death, 5 stages of grief. You got to like come in terms with everything that is reality, or not. You do your best in these things, and all you can do is kind of try to just live the life you have to the best of your ability. Like, I mean, look at you. You're among friends. You have a whatever label you want to call. In this case, you call it girlfriend.
hmm
You have yourself a pretty good spot in life, and all you can do is kind of make the best of it.
um, yeah, yeah. Like if I were to die tonight, um, I would just kind of try to like, and if I was aware of it, like right before it happened, like I have a heart attack in the middle of the night for some reason,
Mm-hmm.
or like I choke on my own spit, or who the fuck knows? um, like that's a pretty stupid way to die. Not even your own vomit, just your own spit. Like
Yeah,
it's
just
not
choking on your own spit.
it's not voluminous enough. But whatever. Like someone fucking barges through. Choose your own adventure. Um, like if I had that moment of reflection, yeah, I would just try to rest on the fact that I tried to be pretty good to people. Like I really wouldn't focus too much on like all the things that I didn't accomplish because I mean if I'm gonna die tomorrow or tonight, like I'm only 26. Like for the vast majority of people, like they didn't really do that much stuff of any like value or imports, at least on like a larger scale. Like I would just worry. I would just think about the impact that I had on the people close to me, and
Mm-hmm.
and and well, not even just them, but like the fact that because I really value politeness because I think in a sort of existential way, like I am just sort of like a ghost or like a wraith that just sort of like floats into, hundreds of thousands of people's lives and don't even like come into contact with them. So the ones that I do come into contact with, even just so briefly as to say like, oh, like just like thank you, have a good day after like buy something from the corner store or something like that. Like I just want to leave a positive impact, even something so slight, that I want that to be my legacy of just someone who, hey, they were pretty nice, they,
We all
yeah,
we all want to be we're all ghosts in the minds of other people. You just hope you're a good one, like a
that's,
friendly
yeah,
ghost as opposed to a phantom.
yeah,
But that's up to them, Like you can do your best to influence what kind of ghost you are, but all you can be is unapologetically yourself. And if that's the person, then so be it. It's like I think that you're an honest man, you're an honest mensch, and I think that as long as you're genuine to yourself about it, I'm sure you'll be remembered in a good way. And to reflect on the other thing, if I was to die tonight, if I knew I was going to die tonight, I probably wouldn't be working on this stupid online quiz. It's like I'd probably be upstairs spending my last few hours with my family. Actually, if I die at like midnight or something, that means I got like less than 2 hours to spend with them. I'd probably just have a nice long conversation with them. You know?
yeah. I would just try to tell them as many things as I could that I had never told them, like
Absolutely.
I love them. Like I've never told my parents or like my family that I love them. No, I'm
Sorry,
just I'm
what?
just kidding.
I was gonna say like what? What kind of effed up life is that?
Well, I just want to leave a positive reaction. So if they knew that I love them, that would just be too much pressure because they
Sure.
would be looking back at me like, yeah, I wish I could say it back. That's probably what would happen. No, I'm just kidding. I love my family very much, and they know that, and I hope they know that I love them too. Like I don't know. That's a weird one.
It's something, all right.
Yeah. Um, I don't know if I really want to like. Well, how long do you think you could really stick around for?
Unfortunately, I gotta like get off in like 10 minutes, basically.
Okay. Well, I might as well take this last 10 minutes to bum you out even further. I mean, it's
Oh boy,
not
let's
that
see,
I've.
let's do it.
Well, I mean, I feel like we've already kind of, we've reached kind of a ceiling with like how sad things can get. So this isn't really going to like make anything much sadder. But yeah, like I buried my aunt like last month or whatever. Like it was it last month, like a few weeks ago. Sorry, I'm doing
No, dude, I feel that.
shitty
It's
memory.
it's
Yeah.
dude. Listen, I did. What was it? My aunt Nina. She passed away a few years back, and we did like a Jewish burial, which is basically a less efficient Christian one.
Yeah.
Which is there's a whole explanation there, but no, sorry, I'm not trying to piss in contest here. I'm just saying I know how you feel.
Yeah. So I spoke at her well there was her funeral and then like the next day or no yeah I think it was the next day there was a memorial service at this like Unitarian church.
Uh huh.
That's it, right? Unitarian, which is like all slash non-denominational,
Yeah.
all-inclusive church that doesn't really. And I based on like what the speaker said, like it's pretty chill, like because I'm a fan of like ritual and the power of like mythology and community and service and all that stuff. Like I'm kind of a Joseph Campbell head, so it doesn't have to be literal for it to be impactful. But so people were kind of just taking turns up at the podium, just sharing nice stories, and I I was thinking, because I had already told my parents this little anecdote that uh, I had sort of remembered, because I feel like that's a pretty common phenomenon. Like when you when someone's either passing or has just died, like I think your brain automatically does like a defragmenting process where it just automatically goes through like all the at least significant memories you have of that person. Like I went through the same thing when my dog was dying, and I just got this like flood of memories. Just it's almost like his life was flashing before my eyes, or like my um, history with him was flashing before my eyes. And I was pretty young when my dog died, but I was like, no, I was in high school, I think. I fucking forget. Anyway, so yeah, I was really wondering whether or not I even like deserved to speak at her funeral, because it's like I was in a room surrounded by her colleagues, and like she was like one generation older, so well she was like my parents are kind of like older, they had to be in their like mid-30s, so all these people who had like spent their lives with her and like knew her growing up, and like lived in like the same city as her, and they were all just kind of there watching. So I'm just like, man, like do I really deserve to say like it's what I have to say like going to hold any credence? Like is it just going to be kind of like self-serving? Like all these thoughts kind of went through my head, and I thought back to like what kind of person she was, and I just got the feeling that she would have want me to say something. So I got up and I told this story about when I was at her house. I was pretty young, maybe like 6 or 7, maybe even younger. I'm not sure. And like all the grown-ups were like either watching like football, like I'm pretty sure it was like Thanksgiving, vacation or something like that. And it was like this kind of like I don't know, 80s movie kind of like tropey, like melodramatic scene where I was just kind of like, metaphorically like kicking a can, just like, oh, I don't fit in anywhere. But I really did feel that way. Like there wasn't really anything for me to do, just this big house. So I sat down on the bottom of the stairs and just like held my head in my hands. And she came over because she was just like milling about, and I was sitting there for like a good like 20 minutes. Like it felt like a long time. And she just came over, and she, was so concerned. Like she just like saw through me, and she said like, oh, like what's wrong? And I was like, I don't really feel like there's any place for me to be. Like I don't really feel like I belong anywhere. And she said like, oh well, let's fix that. And she took me up to her bedroom, and like that's the first time I've been in like her bedroom. It was like this huge bed, and obviously I was small, so it was even bigger. And just these huge, comfy, like really fluffy, almost like too fluffy sheets. Like it felt like the bed was kind of eating you, and the pillow, and just like a bunch of pillows. And she got me like snacks, or like she might have got me like ice cream, or like she was like really into like sweets. Like her daughter owned like a bakery, and like she always had like sundaes and just like all these like cool like aunt food basically, like you come to visit, and just a bunch of cookies and shit. And she got me out of this big bed, and she like took out like the Fox and the Hound. She just like had a bunch of VHS, or maybe at that point there was DVDs. I think it was still VHS. And I just picked it out like, oh, I've never seen this, and it was a cool movie. And she just made me feel as welcome as possible, and just made sure that I knew that somebody thought about me, and somebody was there to basically just acknowledge me and take care of me. And that memory is so clear in my mind that and it seems sort of like emblematic of my relationship with her, though it was not super extensive. There was this depth to it where whenever I saw her, she would just be the most just effusive. Is am I using that word right?
I'm not sure, honestly.
Yeah. Affluent? Does that mean rich?
That means rich.
Okay, she was rich with emotion. She was emotionally rich. She just had a lot of love to give. And that was the case, like, well before her death. Like, it was not like one of those things where, like, oh, time's ticking, better, make everyone like me. It was like, no, that's just who the person that she was. She wanted to make sure that everyone, or like the people that she felt close to, like, felt welcome. So I shared that, and then not to brag, but a bunch of people came up to me afterwards and really thanked me for sharing that memory, and I'm like, oh, yes, obviously, yes, like, of course I deserve to say this. This is my fucking aunt, and I'm just talking about how cool she is, like, So yeah, that was a moment where I was just like, damn. Sometimes it just makes sense to speak from the heart. So, anyway, that was my little anecdote, and I think I'm finished with drawing this fucking creepy thing. Hey, are you looking at the stream? Like, have you seen it all?
Actually, I have to actually check it out now at the end.
Okay, if you want to, it's just a creepy, like, reminds me of Gygas, kind of.
Let me see here. Wait a minute.
I mean, you don't have to look it up right now, but
No, now I'm curious. I usually wait till the end to see it, just because, like, otherwise I'm going to. Let's see here. Oh boy, let me mute myself. So. Oh, okay. Yeah, it is very. I am getting some Gygas vibes. Gonna sneeze. No. Good timing. I turned off my mic. But yeah, listen, man. I'm glad we had this heart to heart. This is probably one of our most interesting conversations we've had in recent time.
I would say so. I mean, not that I'm ranking them, but yeah, I'd say this is a pretty good one.
I tell you as much, I'm probably not going to get some sleep tonight. I'm going to be terrified, but that's probably
because the drawing or just all the death talk.
No, just the talk about death, like me laying there. I'm gonna like pop awake and I'm not gonna be able to sleep probably.
Okay, well,
but I got shit to do anyways. Don't worry.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you can always call me and maybe I'll be able to talk you down.
I appreciate it either way, buddy.
I don't know.
It's all good. Listen. I'll be in touch, man. And always good talk, okay?
Yeah, of course. Love you, buddy. Have a good night, okay?
Love you too, man.
All right. See you, dude.
Man.
All right. That's my little thing there. So, yeah. Thank you so much, guys. Have a good night, okay? Don't have nightmares about dying. You're gonna be alive.